the first question is, someone tell me about what the project was about.
So I can explain this. So our project was working with a company called It's in Nottingham, and It's in Nottingham is basically, it's a website and app that it's available to everyone local to Nottingham. It's available for everyone, but it works for the people of Nottingham, and it basically has like events and information to do with Nottingham and anything like that you might be interested when visiting, or if you live here and are local. But what we were tasked with was to look at the safety initiatives that It's in Nottingham kind of encourages, and like some of them are their own schemes and a lot of it is just like stuff that's national. So we were tasked to find out why. They do a survey every year on finding out how safe people feel in Nottingham, and they kept getting responses that people weren't feeling safe. So they wanted to find out, why is this the case, are they missing something? And we did our own survey. We basically found that it's not the fact they don't have initiatives, it's more the fact that there's just not enough knowledge about these initiatives. So when we were told about some initiatives, some included like Ask for Angela, that some of us were quite aware of, but a lot of the others we were just like, well, we've never heard of that, so that must be like quite a big issue, because if we as students haven't heard of it, then it's not really going to go very far. So that was kind of our main feedback back to the company.
And so, what do you think? Could you tell us a bit more about the feedback that you gave to the company, and tell me a bit more about the survey as well? What was involved?
So basically, we just told them, like, yeah, they just need more advertising, get people aware, because as she said, no one really knew about any of the safety initiatives, and considering that's their main point, you think that's what they'd go for, really. But yeah, with the survey results, like, a lot of people just said that they didn't feel safe, like, at all, especially at night and stuff. So I think that's what we were trying to really like solve.
And was there a difference in gender?
Yeah, there was like a massive gender difference, in all fairness. Like, a lot of the lads that did the survey, they all said that they felt safe, like they didn't really have any issues walking back, like at night, for example. But then when, like, with girls, like a lot of them, well, pretty much all of them said that they didn't feel safe at all.
And what was it like doing service learning? What was it like working with a group and working with an outside organisation?
It was, I've said this to people that came and looked at our poster, but it was definitely a confidence boost. So I know I've never done anything like this before, where we're working with a bigger organisation and you kind of gain confidence in like learning how to communicate with bigger companies, because obviously that you're going to be doing that a lot once you leave uni, so it gives you that confidence to be able to do that. And I think working as a group as well, we all worked really well together, communicated really well, and everyone was kind of on the same page, so no one was kind of not doing less than someone else. So it all just really worked, really, as like a cohesive whole.
And in terms of your learning, did your learning in doing this project connect with your broader learning at all on the sociology degree?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, for me, as a male, I feel like it sort of exposed like how bad it is for women like at night time, and how vulnerable they are. I mean, obviously I was aware of it, but like seeing the surveys and that really made me realise that it is much more of an issue than it seems. It needs to be spoken about a lot more.
And does that connect with any of your learning on the broader sociology degree? About social structures, social lives? Did you do about gender in that?
Yeah, it definitely ties in with like the gender inequalities, and like, especially around cities and stuff. Like, it's just a lot more unsafe for women. And like, we were talking just now with our poster presentation that, yeah, these schemes are in place, but they're not really going to the root cause of things. Like, yeah, they might help you in that moment. Like, Ask for Angela might be great, but it means that you have to actually ask, and there's just a lot of pressure. And there's a WalkSafe app that's one of the initiatives that you have to download the app, and you have to know that you're in an unsafe place and put yourself in that vulnerable situation, and then recognise that as well. So it's all a lot of stuff before you actually feel safe, like, that has to happen for you to recognise, oh, I actually don't feel very okay here. And like, it's quite hard to come to terms to you when you move to a new city, to like have to realise I don't feel very safe here, because a lot of cities you won't feel safe, and it's quite hard to understand, because we've all come from quite like rural areas, and it's just a massive change for us. And so definitely that is one thing that I personally realise, that it's just a big difference. You need to talk about it a lot more.
Brilliant. So in terms of going back to that sort of question, like, did it bring sociology to life for you?
I mean, I guess so, yeah, because I obviously was always aware of the differences, and like obviously how women are more vulnerable and then just seeing that made me, I guess, like zoom in and look at it more on a deeper level, I guess, and proper analyse it properly and get a better idea of how bad it really is.
Yeah, I think it definitely made it quite real because it was about like the people around us, like literally our friends. We were just like, oh yeah, we feel the same. Like it's really interesting that most of us feel really similar.
And also the fact that like no one was really that aware of the apps that were there already.
That was really interesting when we were told about all these different initiatives. We were like, we've never heard of them. Like there's clearly an issue.
Brilliant. So it's now what's the main thing you've learned? So who wants to go first?
I think like being able to work actually really effectively in a team is probably the best thing I learned. Like at the end of the day, we all had like a deadline we had to meet. We all had to do pretty decently. Like we just had to do our presentation, so it actually sort of mattered. And I think actually sort of coming together and trying to do well on it, that's probably the best thing that I've learned.
Brilliant.
I think like understanding my role in a group, because Izzy took on the role of like, you know, I guess as the leader, and like I sort of understood that I wanted to do something else, like challenge what she was saying, even if, you know, she was ahead of what everyone else was doing, sort of thing. And everyone else had their own individual roles, and that's why it worked so well, I think.
I would say the best thing I learned was obviously about all the initiatives. I always say that I'm a bit of a overthinker, and coming to a big city was a massive thing for me because I come from such a small town. So definitely knowing that these things are in place taught me a lot, and obviously also working as a team more was really positive about the whole situation.
Yeah, I agree that I think I've discovered like the kind of role I take in a group, and it's made me realise like I like the role I take, but it's more leaderish, but I like the fact that I was in a group that we were able to discuss and like critically discuss, and all like it was okay if some of us weren't happy with something that was done, like we'd make sure that it was done. And like again with the deadlines, like we all met our deadlines and we worked really well because we were originally in quite a big group, and we were cut down to a smaller group, and that was just showed that like smaller groups can communicate a lot better. And like the six of us just got on really, really well together.
What I want someone to do is tell me about the project. What's the project about?
So we were working with ITS in Nottingham, and our project brief was to find out why feelings of safety are not improving, even though there's lots of safety initiatives in place. So how we went about it was we completed a survey with the general public about how they feel in Nottingham, if they think it's got a good reputation, what's making them like nervous, what makes them feel unsafe, whether or not they work, and how they feel getting home and stuff about this, and how if they know about the safety initiatives that have been put in place. So that was one of the ways we went about it. And we also did lots of interviews with like key stakeholders in Nottingham, and we learn about why people's feelings of safety are not changing at the moment.
Could someone tell me about what was the main thing you found for ITS in Nottingham from your work? Let's start with the survey. So someone tell me about what you found in the survey.
So me and Finn were looking through this today about our findings. We found that about 99% of people, I think it was 92% of people.
It was about 92% of people
didn't know about the initiatives and didn't feel safe in Nottingham. And we found out that a lot of this was to do with homelessness and like reports in the news. And what else was it about?
There was a lot on sort of...
It was homelessness, things in the news. Experiences of antisocial behaviour was another one. And we found out that lots of people had reported that they had experiences of antisocial behaviour, and all of these reasons were why they didn't feel safe walking home from work, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when we were actually conducting the survey, I mean, you guys were handing out the posters, weren't you, quite a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just found that there wasn't really one person that knew about ITS in Nottingham or the Purple Flag Scheme or anything to do with it at all. Very eager to share their experiences with us and just raise awareness for it as well.
Yeah, any stories that they had.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about the interviews then? Could someone tell me about the interviews?
Oh yeah, so we spoke to a police officer, which we found was super helpful. He had a lot to say about all sorts of things. We learnt about like drug dealers and how they can steal like phones and all the different ways that, you know, that sort of thing can happen, which we didn't know about at all.
No.
So it's quite interesting to hear the different crimes that they had to deal with.
Yeah, they talked a lot about spiking as well, and like how there's more like moral panics within Nottingham of once it's in the media, how it's then like more increasingly reported to the police, and there's just like an escalation of like this feeling of safety, and that Nottingham has a reputation for being unsafe, and that's why it's been really difficult to making people feel more safe, is because it's difficult to challenge those social media things that are online, because it just sort of fans the flames whenever anyone puts anything out
so
there.
The police officer said as well, like, there's a lot less spiking than like it's been made out to be.
Yeah.
Like in the media they make it out as if it's like this massive thing, but then we sort of found out that it's actually just been blown out of proportion. He spoke about like, the placebo effect as well.
Yeah.
People just seem to think they're spiked when they're actually not.
Yeah.
And even when we met with Wayne as well, like he was saying how a lot of people that thought they were spiked were actually like just mixing like drugs and alcohol, and that led to them passing out and falling over and usually hitting themselves on something sharp like glass on the floor, things like that. And that would make them think they've been spiked, but that wasn't necessarily the case.
And so in terms of service learning, the learning that you gain from service learning, how does it bring sociology to life, or how does it link to the other things you've been learning?
So I was saying at our poster presentation that it's been really helpful because it's sort of been a whole experience rather than just learning about one thing and writing an essay about it. So it was communicating with the key stakeholders, which was kind of intimidating at first, but emailing them and calling them and interviewing them and speaking to them on a professional level was a really good experience. And then even through working with It's in Nottingham, speaking to Richard, we had to talk to the marketing department about how we would like make the posters and how we'd lay it out, how to make it most eye-catching, and then how we'd then distribute them and print them off, and the whole process. So it was all a very like well-rounded experience of...
Find me a link with what you learned in service learning and how it linked with something else you've learned on the degree.
I mean, we're doing our methodologies on feelings of safety, but I'm doing mine directed at students' feelings of safety. So it's been really interesting to learn about all of the like universities' initiatives that they've already got in place. And even when we were learning about it ourselves at the interviews, they were telling us how we can report like our landlords if there's problems with our properties, and if there's like we can't get home safe on a night out, or like the security hub that we can go to, like all these things that we didn't know about that are in place, how they're in liaison with the police, and like they have university police officers that we can contact if we really need to. So yeah.
Brilliant. So what's the main thing that each person's learned? Can I start with you? So what's the main thing you've learned from being engaged with service learning?
I feel like I've learned a lot about just raising awareness within the uni, because I feel like when we initially joined NTU we knew nothing about these WalkSafe apps, and especially with the news and everything of the incident that happened in the summer of the two uni students that sadly passed away. I feel like loads of people have felt a bit on edge about walking home safe late at night, so being able to research about it and get results from it and getting communities' feelings about it, and even like workers and students combined, it's been really helpful to just see how people feel and how we can make people feel a bit safer.
Brilliant.
I think I've learned just how many different things there are in place with regard to like safety, but how little people actually know about it, and just the very little sort of like knowledge a lot of people sort of seem to have in it. I think as well, just like the whole process overall is just, I think, provided like a lot of like self-confidence and like being able to like communicate and speak with people. Like I think later down the line it will be really beneficial.
I'd say I found it like the most interesting and like beneficial thing that I like learned through it was like just like how much work goes on behind the scenes, and like the step-by-step processes, and like working through like the brief and like seeing what things we need to do, and like obviously Jess was like the main one like communicating with like Wayne and like other people that we had to like interact with, but like all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that like leads you to creating these projects and posters and like putting things out there to like share and raise awareness about these things. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah, I'd say not just the work that we were doing was really important, but obviously all the behind the scenes things that we were doing. So I felt like I learned a lot of like leadership skills and communicating skills and how to work on like a professional level with professionals that were in these areas. So yeah, I found that really interesting to take away from.
Brilliant.
I think it's given me like a level of comfort I think I didn't have before, because obviously with the whole Nottingham thing with the students, I obviously was quite on edge after that. And I think it's given me a lot more comfort knowing that there's a lot of initiatives out there and a lot of people you can speak to. There's more than like I thought there was. And then also same with Finn, I think like self-confidence wise it's definitely helped, because like when we were handing out the leaflets and interviewing people, I think obviously that's not something you do like day to day, so I think that's definitely going to help me down further.
Can you tell us a bit about the project that you were working on?
So we work with an organisation called Love and Power. So they're a feminist organisation. They're not solely based in Nottingham, but they have done work in Nottingham. So they're working across the UK, aiming for equality between women and men. So they're looking at different problems that women face, and they're trying to tackle these to make a happier place for women.
Brilliant. And can you tell me like one of the main activities you did in the project?
Yeah, so on our last session we went out, so we were on campus in the city, and then some of us were in Newton, and we basically had these cards which had questions on the front of them. We went up to different people who answered the questions, and I think this was really effective because we could see firsthand like the issues that people faced regarding like sexism, and I think it was very interesting as obviously we chose the project, so we're all very interested in helping women, so I think it was so beneficial to like see how people really felt. And I think especially after St Patrick's Day, people had been out the night before, so it was honestly insane to see how many people had been like sexually harassed on their night out or like stuff to do with that. And then we gave it back to Love and Power, and them as an organisation, they try and like tackle these problems.
Wow, so that's some really useful data that you've got.
Definitely.
What was the most striking thing that you heard when you...
So I think, well, we met with this one girl, we interviewed her, her question was like, what makes you angry about sexism? And she'd just been for a job interview, and I think one of the chefs had made like appropriate comments about what she was wearing. And I think that was quite striking, because I think if you're going for an interview at a workplace, it shouldn't have to be like sexualised at all. And I think that obviously she didn't go for the job after that. I just think it's obviously so awful on the company, and it's insane to think that like people as young as like university students are being faced with like grown men making like sexual comments to them.
If you think about the learning you gained from service learning, did it link with any of the other subjects you've been learning on?
Oh, definitely. I think obviously it was about feminism, and there's a lot we learn about to do with even linking to like education and learning how like men and women are treated differently within the education system. I think it's very evident that like different areas within society are being, you know, like not just men sexualizing women as such. I think that like especially learning about different areas of like sexism and treatment between men and women, I think it all intertwines. And I think now writing my essays, I'm able to like understand more how they link to what we've been learning.
So tell us a bit about the actual process of being involved in service learning then.
So first of all, we picked obviously the topic we were most interested in, and then we got put with groups that had also picked the same topics. First, I think that was very good, because I wasn't necessarily with my friends, but we all had a common theme of obviously like being passionate about the topic we picked. So like we all got on so well, and I think it was nice because we not only made like good friends within this, but we were all so passionate about helping, and we were all very hands-on. So we met with the organisation on the first day. They basically told us what they were,